Trams have been present in the world for centuries now, and like many things, the UK was its birthplace. So, in a country where trams were born, what's the longest tram network that started the tram revolution, but still is present today? Is it London? Birmingham? Manchester?
Nope, it's Blackpool, a city known for one tower and one roller coaster. Why on earth is it Blackpool? Blackpool's tram system as of this year is 141 years old. It is one of the oldest electric tramways in the world and the longest serving one in the UK, with absolutely no competition. So how did the Blackpool Tramway end up surviving this long?
Well, I need to give you a history lesson first. In 1885, the UK already implemented trams with horse cars from Wales, and they just recently started electric tramways with one in Brighton, which is still being served as the longest running electric tramway in the world today. But now it was time to test the technology and create an actual city network, which was where Blackpool came along and opened the first conduit line from Cocker Street to Dean Street.
It ran all the way across the Blackpool Promenade, which was packed with lots of attractions that appealed to visitors. This marked a global innovation. At the time, there was no network like this outside London, and with Blackpool being one of the key tourist destinations for the Victorians, Blackpool have firmly called itself a bustling resort, and its tramway became a tourist attraction itself.
In fact, the trams had so much demand, they eventually extended to all major areas. They had a separate service reaching all the way from Blackpool to Fleetwood, and the Blackpool trams reached the inner city. They managed to go on a streak of adding new branches in the city centre up until 1926.
Blackpool's trams started a trend. All other cities across the country saw Blackpool's success and they wanted to join along. So more tram networks were being opened in Liverpool, Birmingham, Glasgow, London, and even smaller towns like Llandudno and Grimsby.
But none of these new systems lasted very long, because something else new and more exciting came along the public interest.
Fuck you, Blackpool! If you want to get your ass across the city with your family, you can use our Freedom Roads with your very new car. With a very low price of affordable enough, you can drive your car and go anywhere at any time. Guaranteed! If you think your tram can do better than that, shove your rails up your ugly ass!
In the 1960s, the automobile had a sudden boom in global demand and became extremely appealing for its sense of freedom and reliability. At the time, this was the future of transport.
So the UK wanted to make space for cars. In order to do that, they started dismantling routes in every network, including Blackpool. This ended up with nearly all the tram systems across the country shutting down for good, with one network being the exception.
Although Blackpool's tram system became a victim of this trend, it was only the intercity routes that were affected, and the coastal line between Stargate and Fleetwood Ferry were kept open. I guess the trams were seen as a tourist attraction for Blackpool's pleasure beach that it seemed reasonable enough to keep them running. Blackpool's tram system barely survived in the 70s. They had to find ways to cut costs and gain new revenue streams. Thankfully though, it did survive. And as of today, trams have been nationally revived, the Blackpool trams are still thriving, and only one small branch has been built in the network ever since. Currently, there are 18 trams circulating in the network. The first 16 were introduced in 2011, and trams 17 and 18 were added later in 2016. The network is split into 3 routes. T1 goes through the entire coast between Stargate and Fleetwood Ferry. T2 and T3 are supporting routes that both terminate at the recently built North Station. T2 covers the south section from Stargate, and T3 covers the north from Fleetwood. Stops in the network that are valuable to include in the list are
Stargate, which according to Wikipedia is allegedly named after the local stargrass, which isn't even a labeled species of plant, so fuck you, Wikipedia. Russell Square, which is not to be confused by Russell Square, Fisherman's Walk, Pleasant Street, Bisham, Little Bisham, and Fleetwood Ferry, which the associated attraction has been currently shut down until further notice.
Blackpool's tram system behaved more traditionally like a bus than a modern tram, mainly because it is one of the few tram systems where you have to press the stop button to get off the tram at the next stop. So unless if you're standing at the tram stop or you requested the tram to stop inside the tram, the vehicle will gladly pass through the stop. The only other network that you would see more likely to happen is in Stafford County Railway.
The huge segment of the network actually goes outside of the Blackpool Council boundary, from West Drive to Fleetwood. But despite this, the land and the infrastructure is still managed by Blackpool's council, so the roads that the trams use are maintained differently comparing to the surrounding roads owned by Lancashire County Council, which does mean one surface is better maintained than the other. Throughout history, the tramway has been famous for its quite interesting tram fleet, ranging from the current modern bombardiers to boat cars. Actually, for some reason, they had a fuck ton of variants. Conduit cars, dead knot cars, Martin box carts, toast track carts, rail coach cars, jubilee cars,
Tram benches. Tram bench.
However, one of the most iconic trams that stayed for much longer than all of the other variants is the balloon trams. These trams are on paper still in service to this day, though it's now only being used when it's necessary as a backup. It's still technically the only available double-decker tram fleet in the UK, but being 92 years old and still standing, these balloons are very impressive on how well kept they have been.
Blackpool loves preserving its own history, which is why heritage tram services aren't so rare to see in the network. Although the historical variants are still well kept, and if you're lucky, you might be able to see them going on the tram tracks. These services are much more prominently known in the Blackpool Illuminations events, where they arrange a whole parade of different trams that are lit up in bright colors. They even turned some trams into boat-shaped vehicles. They also arrange the Fleetwood Transport Festival, more commonly known as Tram Sunday, which happens every third Sunday in July annually, run between Fisherman's Walk and Fulton Gate, attracting thousands of visitors every year. Back then, it used to be much more common to see during weekends, summer months, and bank holidays. Nowadays, it's been a bad time for heritage trams. They did unfortunately have to pause these services in 2024 for safety concerns, and even though it's safe to say heritage services are back now in 2026, the Tramtown Museum that displayed a part of the collection has suddenly shut down and will be demolished on safety grounds. Blackpool Transport has stated that efforts are ongoing to secure a new home for these historic trams. So while the situation has been difficult recently, there is still hope that Blackpool's heritage fleet will return in a more stable form going forward.
And speaking of going forward, what does the future look like for Blackpool's tram network? Are they working on any extensions? Now don't be silly, let's not get optimistic. Let me show you the answer right behind me. Absolutely nothing. But that doesn't mean they didn't try to plan further extensions. In 2002, a £1 billion bid was launched by the council to expand the tram network south to St Anne's and potentially north to Porton-le-Fylde. However, the government didn't move the bid forward, and after years of constant questioning, talks on the project went quiet and got quietly abandoned. Another project was proposed in 2019, which featured a tram loop along the Fylde coast. But due to it being the wrong time to plan a tram extension, this also got cancelled, with the feasibility study never taking place.
The only time they managed to successfully extend the network in recent decades was the small extension to the Blackpool North Railway Station, including an additional stop over there at Talbot Road. This connects midway along the promenade line, which allows to create the second and third route of the tramway, each going from the existing termini to the station. This took a stupid amount of time to open.
Oh yeah.
I know, right?
Oh no, where I am.
The extension works began in November 2017. It was planned to open in summer 2019, but due to the need to demolish the department store and the hotel opening above the tram stop of Blackpool North being delayed, they opened it 5 years late, just to open 470 meters of tracks and 2 tram stops that get trams every half hour, comparing to the rest of the network that get trams every 10 minutes. Like at this point, just walk 10 minutes to North Pier and you can get a tram either instantly or wait up to 10 minutes. In the worst case scenario, you still save 10 minutes on average, plus you burn extra calories. I might be wrong on my logic, but what I can say for certain is that the timetable for the extension is quite poorly thought out. So in the end, the Blackpool Tramway once became a revolutionary piece of infrastructure, a start to a huge movement of tram services that the rest of the world has followed. Even at times where trams were torn down for cars, Blackpool refused the trams to fully disappear. And today, Blackpool's tram system has adapted to become a part modern light rail, part living museum, and part coastal attraction. Sure, it definitely fell behind in its convenience and didn't end up competing well against Manchester Metrolink, West Midlands Metro, Edinburgh Trams, and London Trams in Croydon, but you can't deny the tram's history is definitely unique. And for a city like Blackpool, it's doing just enough.
Although I do recommend fixing the limited speeds, getting intercity routes back up running again, extending further north and further south, getting a tram service to the airport. I mean, you're basically almost there, and fixing the timetable in the extension.
Yeah, I guess in conclusion, Blackpool's transport is like a D tier. It's okay. The buses could also be better.